You're listening to the Jewish Entrepreneur Podcast with Debbie Sasson, episode 136. Welcome to the Jewish Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Debbie Sasson. I went from being a financial advisor, author, and chronic under-earner to building my business to six figures as a financial planner and money mindset coach, and then onto multiple six figures as a full-time money and business coach. I help entrepreneurs create money-making businesses and build wealth using sales and money mindset strategies and in alignment with authentic Jewish values. Now, let's dive in to today's show. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the podcast. How are you doing? It's summer. It is hot in Israel. It is beautiful. It is a time when there is a shift of the seasons. I think for so many of us, life takes on a more relaxing pace. I don't know what your business is like. And last week on the podcast, we talked about fluctuating income. So it could be this is a busier season for you. If you're a lifeguard, I imagine that you're pretty busy right now. If you sell clothing like bathing suits and things like that, you can be busy. But for many of us, summer just has a different energy, a different pace or cadence to it, a different vibe. So I thought today would be an amazing time to speak about different ways that you can shake things up a little bit and market your business without social media. Now, I have to say that I love social media. I have really positive thoughts about social media. You can find me on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook as much as I used to. I think in the beginning, I really built my business, the social media arm of my business on Facebook. But in the last year and a half, I've spent a lot more time on LinkedIn and I'm having fun. And I have to say also that every time you are on a new platform or different platform, you have to learn it. Every platform has their nuances, their vibe, going back to vibe, their energy, the way people talk, the way people engage. So you need to spend some time there. And I'm also on Instagram, but I spend way less time on Instagram. But I have really good thoughts about social media. I mean, hey, it's free. My grandparents and my dad did not have the opportunity to build their business using free content on social media. Now, I know that many people do not want to be on social media for religious reasons, and I totally get that. I totally respect that. There definitely can be boundaries that are crossed, images that you don't want to see, the way people are talking on certain social media channels, and you don't want to be exposed to that. So if that's for you, I 100% respect that. And that's why I am recording this podcast. I also know that many people want to be able to leverage the power of social media, but it's a time suck. They don't want to learn all the platforms. They just want to be in their business doing the things that they do. In fact, one of my clients, I was just speaking with her today as I record this podcast, was talking about how she looks forward to the day when her business is 3 times the size it is now and she can hire somebody out to do the social media marketing. So I wanted to share with you 10 ways that you can market your business without using social media. And I think it really is a possibility. I think many of us, me included, we got a little bit lazy from 2020 on, from Corona. We got to sit behind our desks. If you're an introvert like I am, I know if you meet me in person, you might not think that, certainly not by listening to my voice. But when I go outside of my home, it takes a lot of energy. And I come back emotionally drained, physically drained, and I need some time to decompress and to recoup. In fact, the first way that I would recommend that you market your business without using social media is to host live workshops. And that is probably the primary way that I built my business back in the day when I was working in financial planning and later adding money coaching to my business model before I transitioned into money coaching and then business coaching. I did a lot of live workshops in Jerusalem and in Tel Aviv and other major cities in Israel. And every time I would come home from giving a workshop, it took a lot of energy from me and I would need to decompress. My husband would ask me at 11 o'clock at night, how was it? And I'm like, don't talk to me, right? I'm not such a great wife at 11 o'clock at night. I just need to decompress, to have a hot drink in the winter, cold drink in the summer, and just like bring my energy level back down to neutral because I get hyped, I get vibed, and I have to give it my all when I'm showing up to give a live workshop. But I have to say, there is really nothing like face-to-face interaction to build trust among your audience. A podcast, I hope you can, feel that vibe with me now speaking to you, but we're not seeing each other. We're not feeling each other's energetic exchange, our vibes. We're not creating that in-person rapport. And I think there's really, really nothing like it. So if you can market your business 100% off of social media, you're going to have to show up in person a lot more. And I think that's great. And just have to know what your emotional state is because you need to know when you need to downregulate your nervous system, come back to neutral, decompress, whatever you want to call it. I couldn't just go to a workshop and come home and jump into bed, even if it was 11 o'clock at night. That wouldn't work for me. My emotional system needs a little bit more time and deregulation before I go back to neutral. But again, there is nothing like it. And also, when you're giving a live workshop, whether it is in somebody else's venue, you could give them, by the way, in your living room or your neighbor's living room, maybe in your synagogue, your shul hall, they'll give you the space. It doesn't have to be a venue where you pay for the workspace. I did it in other people's workspaces where they got paid the entrance fee and I gave the workshop. And then I got to market my services and invite people to a discovery call after the workshop. So that's the number one way that I would really recommend is get out of your house, get out from behind your computer and go and demonstrate your authority and your expertise by giving workshops. Find places that you can do that. The second way that you can market your business without being on social media is to be a podcast guest. Now, if you want to be a guest on my podcast, you have to have a complimentary business or something that I can offer my clients. If you are a real estate investor, for example, that might not be a complimentary business for my listeners. But if you have a great story about growing your real estate business, anything to do with your money blocks or shifts in money mindset, something that can help my listeners as an entrepreneur, that could be a good way for you to reach out to me. I'm not making any promises. I do get people reaching out, asking to be podcast guests all the time. And, from following me, you probably know that I rarely have guests on the podcast. But it could be that there is somebody else who has a reason that they would want to invite you on their podcast. You have a reason for them. So you're going to have to fill out a media sheet, and you can go and you can Google this, how to prepare a media sheet so that you can reach out to people and ask them, hey, I would love to be a guest on your podcast. Make sure, by the way, that you are being a genuine human being when you're doing this. You're going to have to say, let's use me as an example. Debbie, I listened to episode 130 on your podcast. This is what I felt was very interesting and very compelling. I see it a little bit of a different way. And based on my story, I would love to be invited onto your podcast and share my story. Right? Don't just reach out and say, I think that I would be a great guest. Give the podcast host a reason why they would want you to be on their podcast. This is part of marketing, is you figuring out how to market yourself so that it would be interesting for somebody else to invite you onto their podcast. So be a human. Don't just spam people's inboxes with, hey, I'd love to be on your podcast. But that is a great way for you to showcase your business, your expertise, and really be helpful to somebody else. Because I can tell you, as a podcast host, coming up with material every week is something that I work on. And if I can find someone who would be very helpful for my listeners and be a potential referral partner or someone who's in a complementary business, has a great story, I'm definitely open to having people on my podcast. So think about who would be a great podcast host for you and go make a list and then reach out to those people and give them a reason why they want you specifically on their podcast. Number 3 is you can write blog posts. You can write them for your website, for your audience, or you can write them for somebody else's audience. So for example, if you wanted to write a blog post on 10 ways to market your business without using social media, right? This is already something that I can do for my business, but think about what you do in your business and write about it. And again, if there's somebody who has a blog and they do accept guest posts, I rarely add blogs to my blog post. Please do not reach out to me with a blog post. I also get people saying that they would love to write a blog post. They haven't even paid attention to the fact that the content under blogs on my website hasn't changed in 5 years. So they're obviously not that interested because they're wasting their time reaching out to me. But I guess they're probably spamming all of the people who have blogs on the internet and figuring that maybe one time they're going to get lucky. But if you have valuable information to share that would be helpful to your audience or somebody else's audience, figure out where would be the greatest address, that URL, right? The website where you can host your content and go and share blogs there. You can also, by the way, write for Medium. You can establish an account for yourself on Medium or Substack. Substack is a very popular place at the moment for people to write blogs, and you can even have a newsletter. I don't know too much about Substack, so I hope I'm not misleading you. If you love to write and you have a lot to say, then you can open up a Substack account. And I know people who are building businesses on Substack, like really, really nice businesses. And that could be a way for you to share blogs and blog content on Substack. Option number 4 for you to grow your business, not on social media, is networking meetings. I said at the very beginning that in-person, face-to-face interaction is so important. So again, get out of your house, right? If you're publishing blogs and publishing podcasts, you're still in your house or still in your little workspace, wherever you're working outside of your house. But go meet human beings, real humans in real life at a networking meeting. I know that there are virtual networking meetings and those are also great. But again, there is nothing like meeting people in real life. It's part of why I went to the United States in May, because I went to business conferences, I went for also my professional development, and I went to the Jewish Women Entrepreneurs Conference, where I really went to network with other people in my larger audience. And I met so many fabulous Jewish women, but it's such a great way for you to just connect with other human beings. You can ask them questions, see how you can be helpful, see where there might be synergies between your different types of businesses and how you can help each other. And I really think that it's important for us to know and to take on as a belief in your business that as business owners, we're always looking for clients. It's a normal thing to do. Nobody thinks that Coca-Cola or Pepsi are sleazy or desperate when they post on billboards, when they post on the Super Bowl. They have a 30-second commercial on the Super Bowl, or they're in a magazine, on a bus. Nobody says, oh my gosh, I can't believe Coca-Cola doesn't have enough clients. But I know so many people don't want to do in-person networking or go and talk to real people in real life because they're afraid that people are going to think they're desperate. You're not desperate. You just have amazing services that you want to offer the world, and you want to share them with other people. There's nothing desperate about it. It's just like you saying, I have so much to give and I want to give more. I really believe that when you are sharing your services with the world, this is like loving your neighbor as yourself. As we say in Hebrew, ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. When I share more of me with the world, I'm loving my neighbor because I know that my neighbor or the person in the next town, the person that I'm meeting in the networking meeting, they can benefit from what I do. So if you're thinking that you're desperate for reaching out to people, I want you to change the way you think, reframe it, change your mindset, change your belief structure and being like, no, this is the best way that I can serve people. I'm letting more people know about me. Can you imagine if you were looking for a dentist and all the dentists were like hiding away and they never advertised? They never gave, I don't know if dentists give referral bonuses, but maybe, if you tell somebody about your dentist and then you come into your dentist and you say, oh, I was recommended by so-and-so, and the dentist might give them a free cleaning. I don't know how dentists run their businesses, but it's such a beautiful thing to share good people with other people. So show up at networking meetings and just talk about what you do. Meet people, share them, as it were. Like if you're meeting someone who you know could totally help someone else, share that person's name, their contact deals with someone that you know, so that we're all just in this beautiful whirlpool almost of helping people to grow, to get healed, to make themselves better, to whatever you're doing. If you're an interior decorator, interior designer, whatever you're doing, you're a coach, you're just helping people to get to the next level. A little bit cliche, but we're just being helpful. That's it. Way number 5 is to have casual conversations. Like when you go with your kids to swimming lessons, or when you're showing up at parent teachers night in your kid's school. I know for many of us it's summer, no parent teachers nights at the moment. But when you are out there in the world, are you a mom or are you a business owner? Now, I know for many of us who are just moms, I don't mean that. I'm not dismissing that. I'm not belittling that. But when people ask you what you do, like just imagine your kids are in the swimming pool, they're doing their laps back and forth, they're dog paddling, and you're just sitting in the lounge chair scrolling on your phone mindlessly, or maybe you're doing your needlepoint or something like that, and you're avoiding the other women around you. It's a missed opportunity. Now, you may need to unwind, decompress, whatever it is, if you've had a long day, but also you have an amazing opportunity to create a relationship with another woman. I remember back in the day when I was taking my girls to swimming lessons, I had a job back then. I wasn't running my own business. I had such lovely conversations with other moms at the pool. And there was one woman in particular that at the end of the summer, when our girls finished the swimming lessons, I said, you know what? It's such a shame that you and I live so far away because if we lived closer, we'd be such good friends. And she lived in a neighborhood that was probably a 10-minute drive from my house. But because of our busy schedule, our kids, we would never see each other outside of swimming lessons. It was way too far to walk to each other on Shabbat. And eventually she ended up moving into my neighborhood, which was great. And we got to develop our relationship. Now she moved out of Israel, unfortunately. So that friendship has dissolved a little bit. But just think about how a casual conversation can turn into a client. Maybe that person who's also a mom of someone at swimming lessons doesn't need your services. But if you're telling her like, oh yeah, I am an interior designer and I work specifically in these neighborhoods and I help people do such and so, she might know somebody who's doing renovations in her house and she can totally recommend you. So get to know real people in real life, create relationships because you never know where it could end. And I don't mean go into the conversation with like this sleazy, manipulative, devious kind of energy. Just be helpful, just be a mensch, just be a real person and let people know what you do. And if you have a business card, you can give it to them as well. I don't have business cards anymore. Maybe it's a mistake, but I also, my kids are beyond swimming lessons. But you could also just give her something so that she would remember your name. So that's way number 5. The option number 6 for growing your business without social media is family outreach. For those of us who work in the online world, and if you're listening to this podcast, probably like 90% of you, so many of our family members have no clue what we do. We're like talking into microphones behind a computer. We are showing up on Facebook or sending emails. We're like doing stuff. Like, can you imagine explaining to someone who is working as a lawyer, maybe lawyers know, or working in a school or wherever they're working, that you help people with digital marketing? They're like, what? They don't even understand the terms. But if you reach out to your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, your mom, your dad, like people that you know who love you, who have your back, who want to see you succeed, and you say something simple like I do, like I help people grow their businesses, or I help people create the first $150,000 in their business by changing the way they think about money and learning how to sell with confidence. That's not my tagline, but that's definitely one way that I could say it. And they'd be like, oh, I get what you're saying. Or if I could tell them, yeah, I help women who feel awkward and sleazy on sales conversations. I help them learn to love sales conversations because it's a way they serve their potential clients. And I help them grow their businesses by getting better at sales conversations. My dad, for sure, because he was in business, he had a brick and mortar business for years, he would totally get that. And if he's talking to someone, besides saying, oh, I'm so proud of my daughter, and I know, Daddy, if you're listening, I know you're proud of me, but you probably don't really understand what I do. So that's what I do. And you can go and you can tell all your friends about it. And so really talk to your parents in like first grade language, not because your parents are incompetent, but because so many of our parents don't really understand what we do, and help them. So when they're talking to their friends, they're not just talking about how proud they are of you, but they can actually go to the next level. They can actually go deeper and help you spread the word. Number 7, and this is a biggie for so many of us, and that is collaborating with people in parallel businesses. And I was speaking about this with my client again today. I mentioned her earlier. If you are a coach in a certain industry, and I love to use this example because it's like the easiest one, everybody can see it. You're a health coach. You help people lose weight, but you're not a personal trainer. And if you're a personal trainer rather than a health coach and you love helping people get fit, build muscles, like this is totally my personal trainer, which is why I love this example. But she doesn't want to do health coaching. She doesn't want to help people lose weight. People talk to her about it all the time. I do too sometimes. But that's not what she loves and wants to do for a living. She doesn't want to help people lose weight. She wants to help people get buffed and strong and trim and fit. So if you're a health coach and you help people lose weight, you can reach out to personal trainers and say, hey, if you have people who they really want to lose weight and they're coming to you and they're consistent, but the needle on the scale is just not budging and you don't know how to help them, like those are my clients. I would love to, be someone that you can refer to if you have clients who want to take their health and weight loss goals to the next level and actually lose the last 10 pounds or lose the last 20 pounds, right? Those are the people that I love. And you can tell her, and if I have clients who they've been working with me and they've lost 30, 40, 50 pounds and they've been doing their walking, they've been doing their yoga, but they're not building muscle, I would love to be able to refer those kind of clients to you. So make yourself a list of the people who are in complementary industries that you can be referral partners for each other. Now, there's nothing set in stone. Again, we're just being helpful. So if you have a client that is not a best fit client for you, or you have a client who you're working with and she loves working with you and she trusts you and she wants to add something complementary into what she's doing, make sure that you have people that you can send her to, and it can be a beautiful, mutually beneficial way of growing businesses and growing relationships. Okay, the 8th way that you can grow your business is to reach out to local businesses. And again, it depends on what kind of business you're in, but I'm just going to use that same health coach example. If you're a diet and weight loss coach, and you can go to an office building near you, and let's say you make little mini carrot muffins. They're low fat, low sugar, low cal, low whatever, not low on taste. They have to taste good. And you go into the local office building, and it doesn't matter if it's an accountant's office, if it's a lawyer's office, if it's a dental office. Make sure there's not too much sugar if you're going into the dentist's office. But you can go with your beautiful muffins, hand them out with your business card, and just show up and give and serve. And it takes time, it takes legwork, but you never know where something like that is going to end. And we have to really try all different ways of growing our businesses when we're in business. This is different from 2020 when we were in those corona years and we were all like cloistered up in our houses and we had to stay inside. So get out of your door and go and think about different, interesting, out of the box ways that you can reach potential clients. And there's so many ways. You can go into local businesses. You can look at their logo. You can look at their branding. You can be like, hey, I would love to just sit with you and see how we could update your logo. We can change your brand colors a little bit. And let's sketch some things out and see what we can come up with. So it doesn't have to be carrot muffins, but just think about ways that you could be of service and useful to people in an office building and just have fun with it. Be curious about where it could go. Just be in the wonderment of getting out of your house and talking to real human beings in real life. Number 9, this is another way that I grew my business beautifully in the early days. I was a guest teacher in somebody else's online program. And this can either be a one-off or it can be a long-term engagement. And you can decide if you're going to do it for free, if you're going to charge, however you want to do it. But it's such a great way for you to be of service to someone. Maybe there is someone that you know that you love. Maybe you've even taken her courses and you love her, or you're in her program. Maybe she's a coach that you know. Maybe she's somebody else who has an online program and you've just been loving her content. You just want to reach out and say, hey, I love your program. I've learned so much. If you ever need a guest teacher, you want to go away on vacation, or maybe something happens in your life. I totally get it. Things happen all the time. Life is unexpected. And you need a guest teacher at the last minute. I would love to be a guest teacher. This is what I've learned over, the last 6 months. And these are the specific points that I've really added to my life or to my business. And this is what I could offer your audience. And that's exactly how I got my guest teaching position. I was in somebody's online program and I didn't even reach out to her. I was a big contributor in her Facebook group. I was always in there just being helpful, answering questions, because that was when I was in my financial planning days and I could really answer a lot of questions that were connected with financial planning. She was a money coach. So there was this beautiful complementary relationship between us. And she reached out to me and said, "Hey, you're really adding a lot of value to my community. Would you like to be a teaching assistant in my program?" And I jumped at the opportunity and I got some clients that way. People reached out to me because they saw that I was there and I was just, in quotes, I was just being helpful. So go out there and be helpful, and you have no idea where it can land. And the final way that you can grow your business outside of social media, and when I say final, it doesn't mean there are not other ways. There are tons of ways that you can grow your business outside of social media. But number 10 that I'm going to bring today is public speaking. Sometimes you're going to be public speaking for free, and sometimes you'll be doing it for pay. And I think especially in the early days of your business, and I did so much public speaking for free. Now I'm already at the stage in my business where for guest teaching and for public speaking, I do charge for that. But if there is a platform that you can use or a place that you can reach out and be like, "Hey, I would love to give a 30-minute talk to your people." If you go to an office building, a lunch and learn for your people, whatever it is that you do, find places that you can show up live, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes. I wouldn't make it go for more than that, but find places where you can just show up, be a helpful person, and speak in public. And especially if you're doing it for free, you don't have to have the most polished public speaking skills. Now, you don't want to bore people. So you want to have your bullet points or you want to have your flashcards and you want to read them over and over and over again and make sure that the content is going to come out smoothly out of your mouth and you're not saying all the time. And again, if you're not an experienced public speaker, you might want to reduce it to 30 minutes. Maybe you'll be less nervous that way and you don't have to have so much content that you've memorized ahead of time. But really think about where you can speak in public, where you're going to be a great resource and useful for other people. And what I also would like to add is for most of these ways that we've talked about now, whether it's at a networking meeting or guest teaching, if you're public speaking, if you're going to be hosting a workshop, these are also marketing opportunities beyond the scope of the specific opportunity in and of itself. Let me explain. If you have an email list, and if you don't have an email list, you should have an email list because that is the way you communicate every week with your people via email. You can also let people on your email list know. And if you're giving a speech, you're speaking in public in Jerusalem, right? For example, I did that about a year and a half ago. Even if people on your email list are in the United States or they're in Europe, of course, they're not going to be able to come and see you speak in person, but it helps you to build your expertise and authority because they're like, "Oh, wow, Debbie is that person that goes and speaks live in Jerusalem in front of a bunch of women." And that gives you like more, I don't know, brownie points, whatever, as I said before, like expertise and authority. And I'm not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes and make you into an expert if you're not an expert, but they actually see that you're out there in the real world and you're talking and you're sharing and you're giving, and that creates connections with people. I think the last thing that I want to say, and this is not number 11, I want to really drive home the point that revenue is created in relationships. You can create relationships with people on social media, but you have to keep showing up over and over and over again. Social media is like an ad in a magazine. It might even be less connective than an ad in a magazine because people can actually sit there and look at an ad. The way most people connect with us on social media is they're like scrolling their phones. They might be in the line at the supermarket. They might be waiting on hold if they're trying to get someone and they're on permahold for like 20, 30, 40 minutes and they might be scrolling their phone. And it's not going deep into their mind most of the time. They need to see you 10, 15, 20 times, sometimes even more on social media before they'll reach out. And the difference when you are showing up live and meeting real people is that you're making that connection. You're like collapsing the amount of time it takes to create that relationship. And people aren't going to work with you unless they know you and you have a relationship. So if you can speed up that relationship, think about just meeting somebody in person. Thankfully, my husband and I met in person, and we didn't go to one of these like dating sites like Tinder or whatever. I don't even know about them really, except for a couple of names. But I imagine that they are pretty superficial in the beginning and you go deeper and deeper over time. But once you meet somebody in person, you just get a feeling for their real personality. You see them, you look at them, you could laugh together or not laugh together. If the person is like dead boring, then by the end of the evening, you're like, I don't think so. Next. But really, relationships are what is going to create revenue for you in your business. So go out there, meet real people in real life, or be helpful in somebody else's online program. But create more and more relationships. Figure out all the ways that you can create relationships with new people that you don't even know yet, because most of your clients you don't even know yet. They haven't even found you. They're going to find you in 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 2 years from now. So go and expand the network of people who know you so that you can make more money in your business. All right, my friends, thank you so much for tuning in today. I want to remind you that if you want to change the way you are thinking about money and interacting with money, you must download my free workbook, Your Money Mindset Workbook. Go to my website, debbiesasson.com/mindset, and start changing your relationship with money from today. I will see you next week. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to the Jewish Entrepreneur Podcast. If you want to stop underselling and under-earning and close more sales, you need to clear the limiting money beliefs that are sabotaging your business growth. Head on over to debbiesasson.com/mindset and download my free Money Mindset Workbook. Uncover and dissolve money blocks like hundreds of other entrepreneurs who are now building 6, multi-6, and 7-figure businesses and creating true financial freedom.